without further ado, let us all welcome her. And over to you, Hemudan.
Thank you, Jai Jinendra, everyone. Thank you, Kirtidaben. Thank you, Mamta ji, for the kind words and for the opportunity to speak to everyone. I also thank Jaina Women's Committee for organizing such seminars that, not only help me share whatever I know, but as I am going through, the material and preparing for these sessions, I learn through the process as well. So I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone. All right, I will share my screen. Excuse me. I'll share my screen so we can go ahead and get started. Just give me 1 second.
Can I request you something, please?
Sure.
Before you start?
Sure.
Can you tell everybody to mute so we can hear properly?
Yeah, we are going to be able to do that.
But I think if I do that, then Hemal would get muted. That's why I did not do it. So
no worries. I'll unmute myself. Please go ahead.
okay. I'm sorry, I'm going somewhere else.
That's okay. I did it. No worries. Okay, everyone other than me is muted. Can you please raise your hand if you can hear me? Thank you. Appreciate that. Another quick tech check. Can everybody see my screen okay? All right. I see some head nods, so I'm gonna, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so we want to take this a step further from where we left off in the March session. But if you are new today and you were not here last month, no worries. What I'm going to share today is building up on what we talked about in the last session, but by no means is it exclusively additive. You will be able to gain a lot of information even if you are attending this for the first time. We'll just quickly jump into the agenda. Sorry, my screen's giving me a little bit of trouble. Give me 1 second there. Okay, we'll jump into the agenda. So what I wanted to do today was break up the entire hour that we have into a component where I share some information. Then we'll talk about some of the questions or some of the discussion topics from the last session that people had asked me that they wanted to know about, that they wanted to learn more about. And then towards the end, we'll keep some dedicated time for questions. But as I'm going through the material, if you have questions, please, especially when we are doing the topics from the last session, the hands-on component, please feel free to stop me if you have questions. So today we want to talk about mobile devices specifically, history, the types of mobile devices, and then we'll dive a little bit into Android versus Apple. Right? Some of the differences, some similarities. If you're trying to choose one for yourself, then what makes sense and what kind of factors should you be considering? All right, so brief history. So mobile devices were available for consumption, for public use from about the late 80s, early 90s. However, they only became viable, or the cost versus the size versus the popularity about that late 90s, early 2000s is really when mobile devices really started to become a household name. And this graph kind of shows the growth of mobile devices. And you can see it's a very steep curve in the 2000s. And then it sort of starts to taper off, right? And today there are more than 8 billion mobile devices in the market, right? The world population is about that much, right? So you can get an idea, right, that essentially every single person has one, and several people have more than one. mobile device today. Right? So I just wanted to show this trend to give everybody a sense. And I think most of us must have started to use mobile devices in that 2000 to 2010 timeframe. I got my first one when I went to Europe for work for the first time. I was working for Ericsson, so obviously I had an Ericsson phone. But my point is, right, that the 2000 to 2010, 2011 timeframe is when popularity grew dramatically. I also now want to talk about some terms that you must have heard in regards to mobile devices and the evolution of mobile devices, right? So 3G, 4G versus LTE, and then 5G, right? So I want to explain what these terms mean, because we hear them, we use them, but a lot of times we don't know what exactly they mean, right? So these terms, 3G, 4G, and 5G, are essentially the evolution of the mobile device itself, as well as the network, right? The service providers, the backbone, the network that gives you the mobile capabilities, right? The towers, the satellites that behind the scenes are supporting or creating the capabilities for you to do what you do on your mobile devices today. So the three things that, and there are actually quite a bit that goes into the network or the back end, right? But three very important things that we as consumers understand and can appreciate about this evolution of the network, of the mobile network. One is speed. So speed is, we can all say, right? Speed, how quickly can you send and receive data? How quickly can you download something? How quickly can you, if you're watching a movie, how quickly can you get all the information onto your mobile device, whether it's your phone or your iPad or whatever, right? So speed is one of the factors, right? Now in 3G networks, which is, there was a 2G network. The first iPhone in 2007 was a 2G iPhone. But again, like I said, right, from all practical purposes, when you and me and all of us started to use mobile devices, 3G was the first set of technologies that we interacted with, right? So for the 3G network, the speed with which you could upload or download data was 7 Mbps. Now, for the people that were here last time, does anybody remember, unmute yourself, does anybody remember what Mbps stands for? I explained it last time.
It is megabytes per second.
There you go. Thank you, Mamtaji. Awesome, right? So Mbps is megabytes per second. So how many megabytes of data per second can you send and receive? So that in 3G was 7 Mbps, right? In the 4G or LTE, and I'll explain what LTE is in a minute, right? So the 4G networks, that speed from 7 Mbps grew to 150 Mbps. So you can imagine a pretty dramatic jump, right? 20 times or more in terms of the speed capability that the 4G network can provide. Right? The 5G network can provide 1 Gbps. And 1 Gbps is 1 gigabytes per second, which is 1,024 megabytes per second. And 5G networks are said to be capable of going all the way up to 20 Gbps. It's an insane amount of data in a second, right? So that's how the mobile network has grown, right? The second thing that I wanted to talk about is latency. Now, first I want to define what latency even means. Latency is the delay between you sending a request and getting a response. So that's the time difference between you saying, make a call, and the call actually connecting, for instance, or you're trying to play a YouTube video and you request that you play it and the actual playback begins, right? So delay is basically what latency means, right? At 3G network, the latency was about 1 second, right? 4G LTE networks, that was shrunk. Now you want latency to be small, right? You want speed to be higher, but you want latency to be smaller because the lesser time it takes for the network to respond to your request, the better, right? You want it to be instantaneous, lightning fast, basically, right? So latency in 3G networks, 1 second. On the 4G networks, shrunk to 100 milliseconds, which is a tenth of a second. And in the 5G network, it's 1 millisecond, which is, if you think about it, less than a blink of an eye, right? Practically instantaneous. And the third parameter is range. Now, by range, I mean, how far can your device, your mobile device, be from the tower that is providing the signal and still be able to connect to the tower? Okay. This range is most valuable for far off remote locations where there aren't enough towers. And because of that, until 5G came around, people didn't even have cellular networks. They didn't have the ability to connect to a cellular network, so a cell phone was useless to them. All they could have was landlines. All they could have was physical connections. The range getting better and better means more and more remote areas, far out areas can get network capabilities. So this, in a nutshell, is the difference or the evolution of the mobile network. Now, you must understand that mobile devices themselves also had to mature to take advantage of these network evolutions, right? So you must have heard, oh, iPhone 13 is 5G capable. iPhone 14 is 5G capable, but the older iPhones are not. What that means is you could be on a network that can provide 5G capabilities, but if your device isn't capable, you will not be able to take advantage. And the other way around is also true. Right? If you are roaming in a foreign country, let's say India, Spain, Japan, it doesn't matter, right? And the network that you select in the foreign country is only capable of 3G or 4G LTE, even though you have the latest iPhone or the latest Android device, which is capable of 5G networks. If your service provider is not providing 5G capabilities, your device by itself, again, will not be able to work at 5G speeds or at 5G latency. So it's a combination of both. The network, the device, both, whichever is the highest level that they both have in common, that is the protocol that they'll use. That is the network maturity that they will use. Okay. Finally, I want to define LTE. So what is LTE, right? LTE means long-term evolution. LTE was an in-between state between 4G and 5G, right? More mature than traditional 4G, but not as capable as 5G. So it's that in-between. Okay, any questions about this? All right, I'll move on to...
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, please, could you explain a little bit more about the range? Because speed and latency for 3G, 4G, 5G was, I could get very nicely. Thanks for that. Could you tell about the range, how the range for 3G, 4G, and 5G?
Okay, so think of range as physical distance between the tower that's providing the signal to your cellular device and where your device is. Let's say you're on vacation in Montana, and the distance between the towers is hundreds of miles. There is a tower in one town, then there's wilderness, and then there's another tower which is hundreds of miles away in another town. If those towers were sending out 3G signals, you would have a dark area in between where you did not have any network, where if you were driving, your phone would say no signal. Right? On 4G, that gap between the two towers would shrink. In 5G, it would shrink even further because each network tower has a bigger circumference of range. It has more coverage. Am I making sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, but qualitatively it makes, but quantitatively, can you give that it is one mile or 2 miles?
It depends.
Just to have an idea, I know it is very device dependent. I'm electronics person, so I understand the intricacy and so many things are dependent. But just to have idea for the layman, you are the expert in this, so it will be very helpful if you say that, hey, if you have 3G and then that if you are 1 mile range a diameter or radius, whatever you want to tell, that these are something. So it will be, for knowledge point of view, I think it will be very good.
I understand. Unfortunately, range is extremely dependent on the protocol as well as on the networks, which products they're using, right? I mean, so the tower that we call, right, is essentially what in technical terms is called an MSC, right? And so who made it? What kind of capabilities are with it? I mean, is it CDMA? Is it GSM, right? So unfortunately, I don't have numbers for you, is what I'm getting at, right? I can make a note. I can make a note and I'll do some research and maybe next time we can talk about it. I really don't have numbers right now.
Oh, no, just I understand. There is a question about fiber optic and our thing, how it will depend. I was just getting a very rough idea, but I understand.
Right, right.
Thank you so much.
And fiber optics is for the last leg, right? So fiber optics will not be on the air, right? I mean, I'm only talking the air, on the air communication between the tower and your cellular device.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
But no, good question. Good question. Unfortunately, I just don't. It's not very black and white or cut and dry, unfortunately. So I don't have a good answer. The other two, right, the speed and the latency are just very protocol dependent. And so it's easy to define this. And there's still a range. And the numbers I provided are only suggestive, right? Like I said, right? I mean, 5G is capable of going up to 20 gig speeds. So yeah, this is all just suggestive numbers, but I'll definitely try and get some range numbers as well. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you.
No worries. All right. Okay. Now we'll jump into the Android versus Apple difference again. Now, so when you think cell phones, right? Now there are a few other manufacturers or few other operating systems, but again, in terms of usage, in terms of popularity, in terms of market penetration, Android and Apple are the market leaders. So those are the two that I wanted to first compare in terms of differences, right? So Android is an open source operating system. What I mean by that is Android's operating system is provided to whoever wants to use it. So Google has Android devices, Samsung has Android devices. In India, there's a whole bunch of different manufacturers that make Android phones. All of them are Android phones, but they're slightly different flavors of Android phones. Apple, on the other hand, is a closed operating system. The only manufacturer that makes Apple devices is Apple. There are no manufacturers that can make Apple devices because their operating system is closed. So that's one of the key differences. Because it is open source, Android is very customizable. And by customizable, I mean you can modify it, you can change it. You can actually go into the source code and change it if somebody wanted to, right? On the other hand, for Apple, you cannot do it. Even if you chose to, you would have to jailbreak the Apple device, and it's extremely complicated and not advisable. Second key difference is that with Apple devices, the user experience, because everything is built very seamlessly by Apple, it is a more friendly user experience. Right? Android can be a little less user-friendly because of the way it is built. Like I explained, right? Apple is the only manufacturer, whereas, there is a long list of Android manufacturers that provide devices. Google and Samsung are obviously the most popular, but there is Redmi and OneNote. There's a whole bunch of others that I cannot even name. One of the other distinct differences is file transfers, in primarily photos transfers. So photo transfer is a little more cumbersome on Apple devices. It's extremely easy and seamless with Android devices. It's possible to buy add-on storage. So most Android devices, you'll have a micro SD card slot where you'll be able to insert external memory to increase the phone memory. On Apple, built-in storage is the only storage you get. There is no way for you to, if you buy 128 gigs phone. That's all you get. There is no slot for an external memory that you can add, that you can insert to add on to your storage capabilities. And finally, Google Assistant is the voice assistant for Android phones, and then Siri is the voice assistant for Apple phones. So these are terms that you must have heard, but these are, again, there's a lot of differences, but these are the key differences that as users, we will have some interaction with, or some value from, right? So if any of these is important to you, then that becomes the driver for the decision-making of which phone should you buy, right? And I'll get to that as well, right? But then jumping into the similarities, right? So I mean, I want to say this, right? Both of these devices today are very capable, and in terms of just device functionality, both have essentially everything, right? The support for multiple languages, global languages. Most apps have an Android and an Apple version, right? They're available on the App Store, they're available on the Google Play Store. You can do calls, messaging, both come with exceptional camera quality, both come with exceptionally long battery life. Security, privacy is fairly well enhanced on both. Both have biometric authentication, both have a touch screen, right? So there's a lot that isn't different, right? I mean, if you're just looking for a basic phone that can do some of these things, both of them will be perfectly fine for you. Now I want to jump into market penetration. I talked about this, right? I want to help drive the point, right? That if you look at the blue bars that you see on the screen are Apple devices, right? And this is just a percentage of per country, the percentage of devices that are Apple versus Android, right? So Japan, US, UK, more popular. Apple's more popular in these countries. You look at India, a very small percentage, maybe under 2-3% is Apple devices, and the rest is all Android. So just I thought this was interesting data to share with you, right? In just terms of popularity of these devices based on the country you are in. And now we'll jump into which device is right for you. So I already brought home some of the key differences, right? External storage, the ability to customize or not customize, the user friendliness, the file transfer capabilities, right? So there are already distinct differences between Android and Apple, right? Two of the key things in favor of Apple that I want to also discuss here, right, is the ability to do iMessages as well as the ability to do FaceTime, right? This you can only do if you are trying to connect with other Apple devices, right? So I mean, if you do a lot of video calling, right, and if you use FaceTime, or if you have friends and family that are around you that you connect with on a regular basis that are Apple users, then it makes sense for you also to be part of that same group, right? Then you can do FaceTime, you can do group chats, you can do iMessages, all of that, right? The other key thing is Apple TV. If you have Apple TV at home, or if you use Apple TV at home, it makes sense for you to have an Apple device, because then it's very easy to pair it with your Apple TV. But otherwise, the factors are, additional storage, cost, if you have a budget, right, then that's another factor. Although the very advanced Android and Apple devices are comparable in cost, but then there are a lot of cost-effective options available with Android. Apple is, it is a little more expensive. So these are some of the considerations for you to, determine what type of device makes sense for you. Okay, so this is where we wrap up the discussion topic, and now we will be jumping into the hands-on portion. So any questions about what I've covered so far?
I have one question on the previous slide. Can you give roughly idea how many total mobile devices in this chart, this gives the percentage which is really, I never knew that that
Yeah,
much of
I know.
devices in it. So do you
Pretty
know, can you
interesting,
tell
right?
me just how many, you told already 8 billion total devices. So out of 8 billion, how many devices in US they have? Or in India? Just roughly, just I'm curious. And what about the Western Europe?
Yeah, I don't know, honestly. I think the population density of each of these countries is a pretty telling sign, because if you
Right.
think about India, everybody above the age of 12 probably has a mobile device, or more than one
Yeah.
mobile device in India, right? So I
Oh,
mean,
then
yeah, so
so
population would be, I mean, so maybe north of 1 billion devices in India,
oh, I see. Okay.
right?
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
it would be a good
Oh, yeah,
guesstimate.
that's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I don't know about the US, honestly. I have no
Okay.
idea. But I mean, I
Sure.
would again say everybody above the age of 12 or 13 in the US
Yeah,
as well is.
300, 400 million plus multiplied by 2 or 3, something, maybe
Yeah.
around. But that's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Then the
Yeah.
second question is not really the last, the slide you showed. I just have if you want to connect, say, WhatsApp, then you need a mobile phone device.
You need a phone
If a
number.
person, yeah, if a person doesn't have a mobile device and just the email, it's not a direct question to your talk, but I thought you are
Yeah.
expert. I wanted to listen from you that can we connect WhatsApp through email,
I do not
or
believe
you
so.
need
You
a
do
mobile
need a phone
device?
number. As
Oh, yeah.
far as I know, you do
Okay.
need a phone number, right? I mean, you can't even have an iPad or a tablet, right? As
Okay.
long
Yeah.
as
Okay.
as long as you exclusively for WhatsApp, right? You could do iMessaging, you could do FaceTime on an Apple
Yeah.
tablet. But as far as
Yeah.
WhatsApp is concerned, it's my understanding that you have to have a phone number. That's where they
Sure.
text you
Okay.
that
Okay.
code, which helps you enable WhatsApp, right? You won't be able to activate it without a phone number.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure. Somebody else had raised their hand. Is there another question? Please unmute yourself. Yes, go ahead, please.
There is a request if we can have the Q&A at towards the end, maybe, unless it's
Okay.
specific pertaining to a slide. I think there was a request from somebody on the chat. Unless it's
Yeah, that's a
specific
fair
to
point.
each of these
I
slides.
wanted to, right, no, appreciate that, Shilpaji. I wanted to, because we're at a logical point where I'm going into the hands-on portion, I wanted to see if there were any questions before we move forward.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, there is somebody that has raised their hand. Is there a question?
Yeah.
You need to unmute yourself. Amarji, can you please unmute?
Is that okay?
Yes,
Is that
go
good?
ahead, please. Yes, please.
I am even surprised that Nigeria has more iPhone and or Android than India has. How that is possible?
I don't think it's the number, Amarji, it's a percentage. So Nigeria is a very
Right.
small country. It might be a higher percentage of Apple users, but the actual number will be significantly smaller.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, all right. So at this point, we are going to jump into some of the hands-on exercises that we wanted to do. This is based on the topics that the audience from the last session had recommended. And so here's all the things that I remember people asking for. And so we'll cover these, right? How to enable different languages on your mobile devices, how to do speech to text, how to do text to speech, right? A little bit about VPN, photo apps, and then how to do bookmarks, right? So let's jump into it, right? So first I want to talk about languages, right? So how to enable language keyboards. Now, I'll talk about Apple devices first, then we'll talk about Android devices, right? So if you are an Apple user and want to follow along, please pull up your devices. Okay, and unmute yourself and tell me to slow down if you need me to slow down, okay? So you go into your settings app on your iPhone, and you go into general. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see keyboard under general. On keyboard, if you only have English as your default language enabled, then you'll just see English. And then under English, you'll see this option, which I have highlighted in red, which is add new keyboard. When you tap on add new keyboard, the graphic that I have on the right will pop up, which will have all the different languages, global languages that Apple supports today.
I don't have a add. Oh yeah, add keyboard. Yes. Okay.
Okay, now Gujarati, Hindi, and then there's another option called Hindi Latin. Now I'll explain in a minute what both of these are, but if you want to pick one of these languages, go ahead and just pick a language and it'll enable the language. Okay, now, once you have the language enabled, how do you actually use it? Right, so go into any of your messaging apps, right? Go into either your text messaging or go into WhatsApp or go wherever you type stuff. And then you'll see this globe icon show up typically on iPhones under your smileys, under where you typically have your smileys. You see this globe icon? When you tap on that globe icon, the language will change from English to something else. When you tap it again, it'll go back to English. If you have 2 languages enabled or 3 languages enabled, then you tap, if you have, let's say, Hindi and Gujarati, English, Hindi, and Gujarati, then when you tap the globe icon the first time, it'll go to the first language. You tap it another time, it'll go to the second language. You tap it a third time, it'll go back to English. Okay. Now I want to talk about the 2 Hindi options that you saw, right? So I mean, I'll go back for a second and I'll show you again, right? So you see there's a Hindi and then there's a Hindi with a Latin in brackets, right? Why there are 2 Hindis, right? And what do these 2 mean? So let's go into it, right? So one, the Hindi that didn't have the Latin in the brackets is what is called the native keyboard language. And the other one that had Latin in brackets is what is called transliteration mode. Right. Now I'll explain what both of these mean, right? So the native keyboard mode is where when you, on your messaging app, right, in the previous graphic I showed, right, when you tap on that international globe icon, right, the Hindi language letters show up, right? So you see ka, kha, ga, ga, right? And you have to pick those alphabets to type. That is what native language keyboard means, which means your native alphabet shows up. Right? The other option is the transliteration mode, where you basically still see an English keyboard. But when you type English words, it suggests Gujarati words to you or Hindi words to you. Right? So when you type GUJ, RATI, it recommends Gujarati words to you in your Gujarati language. And you can pick those, right? So the choice is, do I want to type the way I write Hindi or Gujarati, or do I want to type in English and have my app understand what I'm trying to say in my native language? This can be a little tricky. Am I making sense?
Hello.
Can you slow down?
Sure.
Yeah.
Where? Okay.
Yeah, can you repeat where is the globe sign on the keyboard? We need to see. Can you repeat what you were
Okay.
talking about, because we missed that in the beginning?
Okay. Did you do the add new keyboard and did you select a language?
We select the language Hindi. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And it says
Now you need to go.
you say standard or transliteration. So we selected Hindi. So can we click standard?
That's why I was explaining what transliteration and standard means. So the one that you pick, so do you want to type in the Hindi out? Do you want to type in the Hindi Barakhadi or do you want to type in English? Is the
We want to
question
type
to
in
ask
Hindi.
yourself.
we want to type in
Well, then
Hindi.
use native. Then use native.
Gujarati,
Native,
Standard. Not
standard.
transliteration.
okay, standard, okay. And then, but it's checking both standard and transliteration. The both are clear, right, you know, so it's checking both. So I don't know how to,
That's
Uh,
perfectly fine too. That's perfectly
oh, that's
fine.
perfectly fine, okay.
Hemalji, if I suggest, if you can take an example in both type of modes, that will make
Yes,
everyone very
right
clear.
here. Here's the examples. Here's the
Yeah.
examples for both modes.
So that then it will be very, people will not be confused.
I think people are still a step behind. They're just still
Yeah.
enabling. They're still enabling their languages. So Manju ji, anybody else caught up at this point? Do you have your languages selected?
Yes, I did the, you selected.
Okay.
Yes.
Now
we
I
did.
want you to open your text messaging and just click on new message. That's
Okay.
where you'll see this globe icon. If you've selected more than one language, you'll see this globe, which is basically your international mode. When you tap on that globe, the language of your keyboard will change.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. While Manjuji is catching up, go ahead, please.
Yes, change, yeah,
Okay.
it's change, yeah.
Okay, you
ahead.
showed, there are two keyboards you showed, right?
Mhm, mhm,
So
English
if
and
we
then-
type in English,
mhm.
then
We
it
need to
converts
choose
in
Hindi or not?
Gujarati.
Yeah.
It can, yes.
English.
So we type like, we type ave che, after type કર્યું, right?
Yeah. So
So-
you basically type AVE
Uh-huh.
and the
the
keyboard
CHE.
will, yes, keyboard. And then once you put a space, once you say
Mhm.
AVE, the keyboard will suggest like
Mhm.
this. Like, so if you look here, right, what I typed was GUJARATI. And then right here underneath, you see there is different spellings for Gujarati.
Yeah. Mhm. But see, Gujarati,
Gujarati, right? So it's giving you a lot of different combinations. You pick whichever you like.
Yeah, we don't see your board
Okay.
here, what you are typing.
okay, I can
Oh,
see.
here,
Yeah, I
right
can
here,
see
right
that.
here.
I don't see your board, what you type.
The
Can
word
you
is
see
Gujarati.
my cursor? Can you see
Yeah.
my cursor? I'm
No.
just there. See, I'm typing in English. I'm typing GUJARATI. When I typed Gujarati right here on my text message box, you see that because I had Gujarati enabled in transliteration mode, it gave me these choices in the Gujarati language. This is the
Mhm.
correct spelling of Gujarati, but then there's also Gujarati and Gujarati, you see, because the keyboard doesn't know what you want to type. You're typing in English and it is translating in
okay.
Gujarati for you. That's transliteration.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
board.
understand. Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Could you please
Hemal
slow
Ben.
down because we lost you?
Hemal
Okay.
Ben,
And we
okay.
didn't see your board, where do you type, you know?
So this, I cannot share my phone screen. It's
Oh.
my work phone, so I don't have the ability to share my phone screen. So I am sharing a screenshot of what I did on my phone.
But we didn't see your screenshot either.
Are you on a phone? Are you on a phone?
No, we're on the computer.
Okay, so I think Shilpa Ben is
No, but I opened the phone, but you know.
Hemal Ben, I cannot find the Gujarati typing. Like I find the
right here,
Gujarati
right here. Can you see my screen?
No,
Yes, but
we
on-
can't see your screen.
Can you see
No.
my cursor?
Yes, I can see
Yes, so
that.
basically that's where I type, that is on a text.
Android. This is
No,
on
no, no.
Android.
No. This is still Apple. We are still on Apple.
Apple, I
On
just
your
have a Gujarati.
iPhone, Kalpana Ben, on your iPhone, open your messaging app, click on new message, click on the globe icon, so that your language changes.
But it changes only to Gujarati, not Gujarati special. Oh, special. But when
No,
it
that
changes-
space, that's just space.
Yes.
Okay, so if it changes to the Gujarati language keyboard, the native language keyboard, and you're not getting a transliteration mode, then you need to go back and enable Gujarati in transliteration mode. I can work with you offline. Okay,
Okay.
okay. Somebody else was saying they're lost as well. What's going on?
Yeah,
Yeah, he lost. We lost.
yeah, I lost
Okay,
it.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
we were
where are
trying
you?
to type the new message, but it's not coming in Hindi. It's not coming in Hindi.
Did you tap on that international globe icon that I talked about?
Yes, yeah, and then on the space, it shows Hindi, then it shows English, and
Yeah.
it disappears. It disappears, but when I type, then it shows only in English. It doesn't convert in Hindi.
What disappears? I'm sorry. Explain that to me one more time.
When I type the text message, it appears only in English. It doesn't show up in Hindi.
I think she is holding the globe a little too much. So then she's getting those choices of English, emoji, and Gujarati.
So then you need to select.
Just yeah.
So, okay. So Manjuji, just tap on the globe once and let it go.
Okay.
And then check what you have as a language there.
I had English language, and then I type again, and it shows Hindi, Latin.
Okay. But your keyboard
Yeah.
isn't changing?
The keyboard is not changing.
Okay. So I think like Asmita auntie said, you're holding on to your globe icon a little too much. Just tap
No.
and let go.
I just tap and let it go.
Okay.
But the keyboard doesn't change.
આના પર લખી દે સ્કેનનો કેટલા પૈસા આપે
Okay. Okay, somebody is unmuted. That doesn't need to be.
Your keyboard change?
No.
All right. So okay, I think
And when 3 times you push it on the globe.
3 times.
3 times?
Then it stays there. 1, 2, 3, and then you put it that time, and then it will show the Hindi keyboard.
okay.
Yeah, 3 times it
times.
changes.
Oh.
Yeah,
see.
if we push it 3 times, then it changes.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
So could you explain if we type in English?
Why 3 times? That's a mystery to me too. I'm going to try it myself.
Yeah, 3 times, and then it shows up.
Because
Yeah,
I have to just
I did 3 times.
okay. So you should, if you tap it just once, you should see Gujarati. You tap it one more time, you'll see, if you have multiple languages enabled, right? Then you'll see English with a different US or a different keyboard, right? English, UK, English, whatever. I mean, depending on what all you have enabled. Then when you tap it one more time, it'll change. It'll keep changing as you keep tapping. So does everybody see Hindi now, though? If that is happening, and
Yes.
that's great.
Okay, can we
Who-
have something like we type in English and it suggests what we should type in Gujarati or Hindi?
Yes, that
How we do
is,
that?
How do we arrive to that?
tap on that globe one more time.
Okay.
બધું એટલું ના થાય અત્યારે અમને પ્લેટ ટેક્સીસ વર્ષના અંદર ભરે જાન્યુઆરીમાં ભર્યા હતા
Who is that? I'm going to mute them.
But the keyboard
Sorry.
doesn't change.
Okay, so keyboard may not change because
Yeah,
see,
keyboard.
if you look at Gujarati, right, the only thing that will change is space. You'll see space instead in Gujarati instead of SPACE. Do you see
Right.
that? Okay, so
Uh-huh.
that's Gujarati. So that's typing in English, but suggesting in Gujarati. Try typing Ave Che, AVE, and see if it gives you Gujarati recommendations. When it's showing that space in Gujarati on that big bar.
But we didn't select Gujarati language, so
Ah, okay, you didn't. Okay, well then,
yeah.
then tap one more time and you'll get to Hindi in the
Yeah.
transliteration mode. Type it one more time and then it'll work for you, mate. So see this, you have to just play around because depending on the number of languages you have enabled, and depending on the different modes that you have selected,
Yeah.
your experience will be different from my experience.
I'm sure. It's confusing.
If you do more times.
You
will
use
be-
it a couple of times and it won't be confusing, I promise.
Yeah, okay.
You have to use it more times.
See.
I
Yes.
think it happens with me in Hindi, it works, like, but I think I have not
Must
set it
listen
for
and then-
Gujarati.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Yeah.
anybody else
Okay.
struggling, or did everybody manage to enable languages and type a message in a different language?
I also can get it in Hindi, but not in Gujarati.
To change
If I
it.
type in Gujarati, it does not come.
But
in-
I guess it is,
sure.
depends what keyboard setting you are doing.
It
Because,
also depends. See, Gujarati is only available in transliteration mode. There is no native keyboard for Gujarati that Apple supports today.
Yes.
Okay, so eventually I'm hoping that, this will keep evolving and there will be a transliteration mode. There will be a native keyboard for Gujarati as well. But today, all you'll see is, like I said, in Gujarati, the word space on that big bar. That's all you'll see when Gujarati is enabled.
Okay, I wrote down in English, Kem Cho.
Mhm.
Then how do I get to some Gujarati script?
When you tap on that globe icon, you have to make sure that the big bar on your iPhone says space in Gujarati and says 1, 2, 3 in Gujarati and not in English. That's when you are in Gujarati mode.
that's exactly, I'm getting it. Okay.
If you don't see that 1, 2, 3 in Gujarati and the word space in Gujarati, that means you're not in Gujarati mode. And then if you type Kemcho, you won't get Gujarati Kemcho.
I am getting 1, 2, 3 in Hindi. And then
So you
it
did
says
not enable
space.
Gujarati in your languages. If you did not enable Gujarati in your languages, when you went to settings, general, keyboard, if you didn't enable Gujarati, you won't get Gujarati.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we didn't enable, yeah.
Okay,
That's why you're not getting it.
okay, thank you.
Because there's probably north of 50 languages that Apple supports, but you have to select which ones you want, right? Because Apple can't
Okay,
know otherwise, right? So the
Okay.
people that enable Gujarati should see the 1, 2, 3 in Gujarati, the word space in Gujarati on your text message when you tap that globe icon. And when you see it, start typing in English, but it will recognize when you say KEM for came, it will recommend Gujarati words to you.
Yeah, yeah, same thing is doing in Hindi, we type in English
Yeah,
and then
Hindi will work
it
exactly
shows
like
the
that.
Hindi words, yeah.
Precisely. Hindi will work
Yeah,
exactly
I'll
like that.
explain.
I have a question.
Sure.
Does this transliteration is for all the languages, or just you have to select the language first and then select
You have to.
transliteration?
You have to select the language and you have to select either native or transliteration mode. And depending on what you select, you'll get.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Anybody else struggling, or can we move forward?
We can move forward, I think.
All right. Awesome. Okay. All right. We may not get through everything that we wanted to potentially. We'll give it our best shot. All right. Now I want to talk about the same language keyboards in Android devices. Now, are there any Android users on the call today? Because otherwise, I'll
Yes.
just.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. All right. Now, fair warning, every Android manufacturer, every version of Android, and every device is slightly different. So these are only suggested settings, and I'm not an Android user myself. So these are suggested settings. Your personal experience might be slightly different. But what you're basically doing is going into settings, find additional settings, and then a keyboard input method option under additional settings. And there, you're selecting Gboard, which is basically Google Board, which is the one keyboard that does multi-language support for
Transliterator, English,
Android.
English, India.
Excuse
I'm just making a note of it. If I want
Okay.
to take a
Talk to her.
picture, how would I do that? So it is easy for me.
Like I
Android.
said, your device might be slightly different, but take a screenshot if you want.
That's what I'm doing. Okay, one moment.
They have three qualities, IZRD. What are those means?
Hindi language.
Hindi, Latin, yeah. If you choose Hindi, Latin, then English, Latin, then
Okay.
it's confusing. You have to just practice and then learn ours.
Yeah.
That started coughing, so apologies. Okay, so once you get to the Gboard, I'm going to get rid of these annotations. You'll have a list of languages that your device and your version of Android supports. Same deal, pick the language you want to choose, hit OK. That'll enable the language you want. Excuse me. And then, like with the Apple devices, the globe icon will show up somewhere near your smileys and emojis. And when you tap on that, the keyboard will change, depending on the number of languages you have enabled. So very similar deal to how you interact with your multi-languages in Apple and Android. Any of your text messaging, like your WhatsApp, your text messaging, anything else, anywhere else that you're typing, you'll be able to take advantage of this.
Hemal, would you mind going to the previous screen so I can take a shot?
Sure.
Darshana
Thank
ji
you.
has a question, I think.
Go ahead, please.
Watch YouTube, you know.
Darshana ji, unmute yourself and go ahead, please.
Sorry, I'm going back again now. It's about iPhone, the same thing, the language settings. Like I have added Gujarati in my keyboard. What about like, will it also ask me to give option of translation, whatever you said?
Yes, so Gujarati today, Darshana ji, on Apple devices is only available in transliteration mode. The native keyboard for Gujarati is not supported yet.
Oh, okay. That's why.
Because you won't be able to, yes, so you won't be able to, there won't be a choice because there's only one option right now.
Okay. Because that's why I was thinking, am I going wrong somewhere? So I redid it, but it doesn't work.
No
Okay.
worries.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
no
much.
worries. Okay. All right. So moving on, speech to text. Now, this was another thing that a lot of people brought up, right? Where you want to not type, instead you want to dictate to your device and dictate in potentially multiple languages again. So let's get into it, right? First, Apple again. You go into general, again, go back to keyboard under your settings. And once you go into your keyboard, if you scroll down, you'll see several options. The two that you want to enable are enable dictation and auto punctuation. They're further down under the keyboard.
Auto punctuation.
And enable dictation.
And
enable dictation.
And the dictation languages?
The dictation languages, yes, if you want multiple languages, then you go there. Right, you tap into that option and then you select. Not all languages are supported. I believe Gujarati is not supported today. but you will be able to pick Hindi.
General and then go down. Yeah.
General, settings, general, keyboard. And then, like I said, enable dictation, auto punctuation, dictation languages.
Enable
Enable
dictation.
dictation.
Yeah. And then auto punctuation. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
And then dictation languages, like I said, right? So go pick Hindi. Gujarati isn't supported, but Hindi is. All right. Once you do this,
About dictation and privacy, what is it?
You just go dictation languages and then see. Only English and Hindi. We already have English and Hindi.
exactly, exactly, right. So now go back to your text messaging. Once you have it enabled, the place where your typed message shows up, right at the right end of that, you'll see a microphone icon now show up. You tap on that, right, and hold on to it. You'll see the English language open up. If you hold on to your microphone, you'll see this little pop thing pop up. If you tap on that, you'll see English and Hindi as well. Assuming you enabled Hindi as a dictation language, you'll see both of them pop up. This is basically what it'll look like. English as well as Hindi.
Yeah.
Right? Then you pick whichever language you want to dictate in. You want to dictate in Hindi, you pick Hindi. You start talking. And if you pick English and you speak English, it'll record, it'll type what you're saying. If you go ahead.
Namaste.
So Hindi isn't supported as I mean, Gujarati isn't supported.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so everybody good with me so far?
Namaste.
Yes.
And feel free to play with this in your free time, experiment as you go. Okay, and come back with questions next time if you have any.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah.
All right, quickly, I'll breeze through speech to text for Android devices. Very similar setup, right? You go into your system settings, you look for languages and input, and then you choose on-screen keyboard. Under on-screen keyboard, you basically look for Google voice typing, and then you add languages.
Hello.
Once you add those languages, very similar user experience. You go into your text messaging app, you'll see that microphone show up on the right corner of where you type your messages. Hold on to it and start dictating. Okay. Right. Anybody need screenshots? Need me to go back to previous screens? Anything? All right.
No.
Let's move on. Text to speech. Now, this is typically in the industry for visually impaired people that are either completely blind or partially blind or are having trouble reading. This option reads what's on your screen instead of you having to read it. It speaks your screen to you. Okay. This is called TTS. This is in accessibility industry standard. This is something that all applications, all devices have to support, but it's not, in my opinion, it's something that you'll have to experiment with because the tone, the speed, the pitch of the speech can vary, right? Even the accent can vary. right? So what you feel comfortable with, if you decide to use this option, right, of having the phone speak to you instead of you having to read what's on your screen, you'll have to experiment with the settings a little bit. It's not a turn it on, it just works, right? So basically you go to settings, and under settings, if you scroll down, you'll see accessibility as an option. When you get into accessibility, you have to look for an option called spoken content. And under spoken content are two options: speak selection as well as speak screen. Right? What speak screen does is, if you are on a web page or on a website, right, and you want it to read the entire website to you, right, it can read everything that's on your screen. Or you can say, here is a highlighted selected section. I want you to read this to me because it's too small. I can't figure it out. Right? So speak selection or speak the entire screen. Okay. And then, like I said, underneath are the typing feedback, the voices. There are, those are the levers you turn to use the voice with a accent and intonation that you are comfortable with. This will take some experimentation. This is not a switch that you flip on. And like I said, the primary use case is for people that are either visually impaired partially or fully. Okay. Everybody okay for me to move on?
How about on WhatsApp? WhatsApp is the same method you use on WhatsApp?
Everywhere. It's any screen.
Everywhere.
Any text.
Any screen at all. Right? Similarly for Android, right? So the settings are similar. You go into settings, accessibility, and then under accessibility, there is a TTS or text to speech output.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody's unmuted.
Can I request one thing?
Sure.
I made a mistake and my all comes in Spanish. How do I go back to English? Everything in Spanish.
What device do you have?
I have a Apple.
Go into settings.
iPhone.
Yeah, go into settings. General.
Settings. Setting kya kara?
Settings.
No, this is not. This configuration is setting, right?
No, you typically see a gear icon on your.
Oh, right. Yes. And then?
General.
Okay, general.
And scroll down keyboards.
Oh, keyboard. I cannot find the keyboard word.
Yeah, but it's a Spanish.
It's in Spanish. So how do you say keyboard?
If you have another device, Google it. I have no idea. I don't know Spanish. Sorry.
Oh my God. I mean, we both made a boo-boo and we are both in Spanish now.
How about teclados?
Teclado? No.
You seem to have changed the system language altogether.
Oh, here
is
is
weird.
Gujarati, English, Gujarati.
You can go on the row 11.
What is it?
Darshan, I feel like they've changed system language altogether. It's not just a keyboard anymore.
Right. The whole
Okay.
whole system
I
is
think we'll have
Spanish.
to talk offline.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry,
let the whole group move forward. If you can
Please.
stick around after everybody's done, we'll try and figure out your problem. I think you've changed the system language.
Hemalji, I can suggest the Spanish keyboard will be at the same location like in English. So
No, but Raji, they haven't just enabled a language keyboard. They seem to have
I
changed the
see.
system setting. So
I
it
see.
seems like a separate problem.
Thank you. I was just thinking that if you are looking
No,
keyboard
good point.
in English, it should
Good
be
point.
the same location. Yeah.
Good
Thank
point.
you.
But yeah, good point. It doesn't look like that, but yeah, we'll figure it out. Kirit uncle, Ragini auntie will figure it out. All right. So yeah, so text to speech for Android. You go into your text to speech output section, and that's where you enable the speed, the pitch. And you can do some playbacks here and listen and see if you like what you hear. right? And like I said, tweak the settings based on your comfort level. Okay, all right. This concludes the hands-on portion of the evening. Now I have a couple of other items that were questions that had been asked that we'll cover real quick, because I know we've already run out of time. And then ask me your questions. Okay, so VPN. This is something that we talked about last time, and a lot of people had a lot of questions about when to use VPN, which VPN to use, how to use it, why to use it, what is it. So we'll cover, briefly, real quick, what VPN is, right? So it stands for Virtual Private Network. So what a VPN is essentially is that it's a secure network for you within the public network. Right. So what do I mean, right? So if you're at an airport, and that is the example a lot of people asked, right? If you're at an airport and we're trying to do something with our phones, right? Some kind of data transaction, right? On your phone, is it secure, right? So if you're doing something innocuous, it doesn't matter anyways, but if you're trying to do something that's sensitive and you'd rather be safe, right? What I'd recommended was to use a VPN, right? Which is basically, think of it like if the public internet is this big pipe where all the data, everyone's data is flowing, right? A virtual private network, the VPN, creates a small pipe within that big pipe, which is more secure and more protected, right? And why is it secure? What does it do, right? So sorry. So what does it do, right? Why is it secure, right? So it does two things, basically. Your internet traffic, right, within that small pipe, right, is encrypted. And it also disguises who you are. So a hacker cannot figure out who you are, cannot figure out what you're sending, so you're secure, or at least a little more secure. Right? I mean, they could obviously still decrypt it, right? If they chose to, right? Or if something was that important, right? But it gives you another layer of security, right? And how does it help, right? So that's the point I was trying to make, right? Because your data is not going in the public internet without any security, you've added a measure of privacy to your information, right? So like I said, it's a small secure pipe within that big public internet pipe. Within that small secure pipe, you've got encryption and you've got privacy, right? That's the advantage, right? Most businesses, right? I mean, if at work, I have to log on to a VPN, only then Oracle sensitive information is accessible to me, right? Even if I am on an Oracle computer. Okay. What VPN to use, right? Which is the question that a lot of people ask, right? So there are a few free ones, but then they're device specific, right? So there are a few ones that are free ones that I know of. I don't know of any that works on an iPhone though, right? But there's Urban and there's a couple others that are free that you can install on your tablets, on your Androids, on your PCs, on your Macs. Most full-featured VPNs though, right, are a monthly subscription, and it goes from anywhere from $2 to $10 a month. One other thing that I could suggest is that most of these full-featured VPNs like NordVPN, Surfshark, there's a lot. All you have to do is search for VPN on Google. They do have a free trial, right? So if you need a VPN only for a short period of time, when you're traveling or when you are in a fix or you are having to use public internet, right? You could get on one of the full-featured ones for a free trial, right? Some of them are like 1 or 2 day free trial. Some have like a week-long free trial. So it all depends. Okay, and then the next thing that we had talked about briefly was photo transfers, right? So how to transfer photos from your phone or your tablet onto an external hard disk, right? So we talked about it, and then I'll repeat what I said then, right? I would not recommend trying to go from your device directly to an external hard disk. It's just extremely slow and very painful. And if for some reason the transfer gets interrupted, you won't know what worked, what didn't, and how far back you have to go, etc. Right? So the recommended approach is to go from your phone to your computer, and then from your computer to your external hard disk. And the other thing we had talked about was if you were backing everything up on Google Photos anyways, then you could, there is a setting, if you go into the Google Photos app and you go into the settings, you'll see that, scroll down, you'll see that there's this option which says X number of items are synced and good to delete from your current device. So if you don't want to transfer to your computer or to an external hard drive for additional backups, right? Just select this and it'll clean up your phone's memory. Everything that has been synced to Google Photos will automatically you'll get rid of it from your device. Okay. 10 minutes over the hour, Mamtaji. We have one more topic. Should we cover it or can we push it to next time?
If everybody's okay to stay, I guess we could just finish it.
Yeah.
They still have.
cover it.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. So the
Is that
last
okay?
thing,
Yeah.
I think I heard a few people say cover it. So I figured let's just
Yeah.
go. Okay. So one of the last things that people in the last session had asked was how to bookmark things. Like, so the example that I had a few people give me was that there's a form that every week we have to fill and submit, but we don't want to go digging in our email to find the link to that web page where the form exists, right? So how do I save that link so that every week, if I have to go to that same web page over and over again, I just have it, right? So bookmarks is a solution for that. How do you do it? I'm going to take only one example, right? On an iPhone, on a Safari browser, right? Other browsers on the iPhone, as well as Android devices, different browsers like the Chrome browser or a different browser will be slightly different, but mostly you should be able to figure it out, right? So on the Safari browser, go to the form or to the website that you want to bookmark, right? I took the example of CNN.com, right? I just went to CNN.com on your Safari browser, right? Once you go to that web page, right, on the bottom bar, you'll see this box with an arrow pointing upwards icon. This is what it looks like. Okay, when you tap on that, you'll see a whole bunch of options open up, right? Pull it up, scroll that up, and then you'll see two things: add bookmark or add to favorites. Either of these will work, right? You can add a bookmark or you can add that web page, CNN.com, to your favorites. Somebody said something?
We have all those, you know.
I don't see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
When you tap on add bookmark or add to favorites, you'll see a screen like this open up where you'll have the option to save or cancel. So hit save. Once you hit save, you go back to a new Safari browser, right? How do you go back to this form now? Now you saved it as a bookmark, right? So the saving portion is done. Now a week later, I want to go back to CNN.com, right? This open book icon is what you click on your Safari browser. When that's basically your bookmark. So when you click on that open book icon that looks like this, all your bookmarks will show up. Now, if you have multiple bookmarks saved, right, just click on the one that you want, right? You want to see CNN, click on CNN, and then that page will load. Okay. Questions?
So this can be done on iPhone or just on the computer bookmarks?
Everywhere. Computers, tablets, iPhones, Android devices, Macs, everywhere.
Because I have on my laptop all the bookmarks, you know, add bookmarks and add favorites, but I don't have I didn't do on my iPhone.
Yeah, you can do it on your phone as well. If there's something specific on your phone that you want to keep going back to, you can save it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
If we have multiple files, how do we figure it out? Does it have a name?
Yes. Yes. So here, I saved the CNN bookmark as breaking news, latest news.
Okay, so we have to name it, right?
So, okay, so I'll go back one more step.
Yeah,
When
but
you
if-
do
I'm
this
sorry.
add bookmark,
Yeah.
when you do this add bookmark, you see here, it says latest news.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is the name that you will see.
You
Oh,
And you
this
can change
automatically
it.
comes up. Okay.
A name
Restrict
comes
your contact
up, you
name.
can change it if you want to, but there is a default name.
Okay. Oh, all right. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now you can see.
Other questions?
No, thank you.
I think
Yeah.
I have put the steps for changing from Spanish to English over there. So if they want to follow.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah, it has all the button names in Spanish language. that you
Yeah.
can find
I
over
just,
there.
You couldn't see.
I just figured it out
wasn't
that
full
it could
screen.
be in the language. They could have got changed to Spanish instead of
Yeah.
English. So
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
hope it helps,
Excellent.
Kirit uncle.
Yep,
Sorry,
yep.
I missed that.
Kirit uncle, can you go? I think they have given the steps in the chat, I think in Spanish. So if that helps you out, basically you have to
So
change.
if you can
the
just follow
language.
step by step what they put in the chat, Uncle,
Yeah.
you'll be able to change your
Okay.
language. Like I said, it's a system setting instead of the keyboard. It's a language setting that you changed.
I would suggest Kiritji, take a picture of that whole thing.
Yes.
On the chat.
Yes,
so that
and then try and follow it on your own.
Right, then
Exactly.
you
Yeah,
can
but
follow
when
it
you
on.
go to teclados and then what?
So please just open the chat on, instead of trying to see it on the screen, just open it and maximize that, and then just follow the steps, and you'll be able to fix it.
Take a screenshot of that so you will have it with you on.
Right, right. Even after the Zoom ends, you'll have
Right.
it. Mhm.
Okay.
Where is it? I'm sorry. I
In
couldn't
the
see it.
chat.
Yeah, how long ago?
How long ago was it?
Just
Just scroll
5-10
up on the
minutes.
chat, Uncle. You'll see it.
It is
Yeah, but
Raj
then-
Lakshmi to everyone. Raj Lakshmi, our new
Yeah,
member.
general.
So I did put it again, so it should be the latest message now.
Perfect.
Oh, here it is.
Okay.
Yeah,
Excellent.
but
Any other
it
questions?
doesn't say in Spanish.
It is. So
What it-
if all the button names are in Spanish, because your phone is already in Spanish, it should show the names as idioma, yeah, region.
Region.
Yeah, it should show something like that.
Yeah.
And then all the buttons will be in that language. So that's how you have to change it. I hope that makes sense.
Hopefully, yes. Let me try.
So go in a
Good luck.
general
It
and
should
then
be.
the
Yeah,
Oh,
I
the
just,
fourth section.
I hope that
Okay.
that
Other
could be the-
questions?
Okay.
Yeah. Hemalji, if you don't mind, can you, I know I joined in late, so I just was keen to know of copying photos from my phone to laptop.
Idioma region.
Uh-huh.
So I have iPhone and I want to clear off my, photo album
Idioma region.
and want to transfer it to my laptop. So how do you do that? Just by using the
Yeah, so your lightning charger, right? So one end is a USB, right? Plug it
Yeah.
into your computer.
idioma que
Right.
antes.
You'll have sorry.
Kiritji, could you just mute yourself, please?
Sorry.
So once you plug it in, you'll have a pop-up message on your phone once you unlock it that says trust this computer, right? So yes, say yes, trust.
Okay.
At that point, once you go into your and I'm going to use some technical terms, tell me if it doesn't make sense, right? Once you go into your file browser on
Right.
whether it's a Mac or a PC, right? You'll see under my computer, you'll see your phone show up as a device, right? Just like any
Okay.
external, like if you put a thumb drive in or an external HDD in, right? What it shows up as, right? You'll see your phone show up as a device. Once you click
Okay.
into your phone, you'll see the memory for the phone open up, right? And there'll
Okay.
be multiple folders for your photos, right?
Right.
You'll have to, depending on how many you have, right? It's a little bit of a tedious process. It
I
fails
know.
multiple times, right? And so it's just, yeah, iPhones haven't. And there was back in the day, you had to use iTunes. Now at least you can do it through your
Yes.
Windows browser.
Yes.
It's
yes.
still a pretty annoying process.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to do it. So I just, I hope I can
Yeah.
at least,
All right, so we
convert it
need
into
to move
half.
on.
Okay. Other questions?
Thank you so much.
Sure,
Okay.
my pleasure.
So is that
So I
the
guess
end?
the only other thing that we should talk about is what next, right? What would you like to
Learn next.
talk about next? Yes.
Anyone has any suggestions? Otherwise, we have our email address and we would like you to send your suggestions to the email so that we
Yes,
can
please.
consider those for the next lecture. Is that okay
Correct.
with you, all of you? Okay. So
Yeah, how to use phone as a recorder,
Okay.
sound
Good.
recorder.
So
Okay.
I would really appreciate if everybody, we have given our email address. Would you please send your suggestions for next lecture or in the email address so that we could take into consideration those? It will be easier for us. We are really pressed for the time now. We're way beyond our time.
Would you please put the email address on the chat so we can make a copy of
We
it?
have it all on very first one. I had put it up there as soon as we started the meeting. It is ready.
Thank you.
If you don't have that, then let me just, can we have that put in again one more time? Somebody can put it there.
Yes, please.
It's already there.
I just put it in the chat.
Okay, great. Thank you, Shilpa.
Email.
I put it in the beginning. So that will be great. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Everybody?
Yes.
So we will have the question. If you have any questions, also put them in the email and also suggestions for the topics you would like to have taken care of. Okay.
Looks like Kirit uncle's thing worked.
Yeah, it worked. It worked. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Thank you so
Oh my
much.
God.
Thank you,
I was
We
so
all are
scared.
learning.
Such a
Thank
joy
you.
No
to
worries.
have this, Hemal. I really must thank you. You're done with your topic today, right, Hemal? Everything
Yes.
is covered.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
really think it was wonderful today. Everybody is happy because they learned a lot today. I guess I learned a lot also. And we solved problems also as we went along. So it was very nice. So thank you so much. And our
Is
next one will be on 24th of May, I think, right? Is it 24th of May?
Women, WOMEN.
Be sending you all the information. Also, please
Yeah.
watch my Jaina newsletter. We
Committee,
also
CO,
send you all the
MMI.
information there. So please join us next time, and we will look forward to have your suggestions and everything.
Jaina, JAINA.
Yes.
Email. All right.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Irtida, please go ahead and say the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Hemalji, for your time and nicely
Thank you.
explaining.
We appreciate.
Yeah.
Is
We
there any
really
YouTube?
appreciate.
Yeah, excellent. Excellent.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Hemal Ben.
Thank
It was
you.
actually an excellent walkthrough, and it was a really wonderful presentation that you provided to all of us, especially on a weeknight, and help educate us and take the right steps to become savvy digital users in today's fast-changing environment. I would also like to thank you and take a moment to thank Jaina for providing us with the platform and the tech support in bringing these sessions to our audience. And to all our wonderful audience, we would like to thank you for attending this session and spending the time to answer all your questions. Hemal Ben did an excellent job. And to my fellow members of the Jaina Wellness Committee, I would like to thank you for being a part of the team and always participating and motivating each other. So thank you, and have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Hey,
everyone,
Chinendra.
once again.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chinendra.
Thank you.
Until
Thank
the
you,
next
Nandra.
time, we see you next time, May 24th. Keep that
Okay.
in.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Hemal.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hemal Ben, once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Hemal
Lot
Ben.
to learn yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Everyone, take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Jason.
Okay.